review. So I think it's also about how it brings the ideas and how it does it. So it's not necessarily about summarizing the ideas only. Now to give a background, this guy, Koba, looks, is a Baha'i, so that's his religion, and he studied Austrian economics. So when I was reading the book, the truth is, the book in the first page, it promises that it's going to use mental models to make life easier, but it was a little challenging. So I had to go ahead and I tried to analyze, even the words in the books are technical, like you needed to know his background to understand what he's preaching, especially if you are a first-time reader of such a philosophy. Now the book is awesome because it brings really a new dimension of economics. Like Mr. George has said, it's trying to bring the mathematical or scientific definition of economics to human nature and kinds of soul and spirit. So it's not a surprise that it was a little challenging to us. It's because it is preaching really a new dimension of economics, which is exciting and interesting, and I'm really happy to be on this journey. So in chapter 3, basically actually talks about bringing ethics, morality in economics. Now, like in the chapter 1, our friend summarized the whole model, and in chapter 2, he has told us about the entrepreneurship part of this model. And now in chapter 3, it brings about the essence of morality and ethics in business. Now, for me, it's an interesting book from that perspective. So he argues that the sin in the whole of economics that we are being taught is that actual economics is a separate business from the sacredness. And for him, he connects the usual actions of everyday man to actual eternity. So he says actual economics is not something we can bargain and define the boundaries. He says it's continuous and it is eternal, and the knowledge and resources that inform its turn should also be eternal. Actually, he argues that when we tamper and try to define what should make economics better, we kill it because we are using the mind and the knowledge that is finite, yet it should be provided for by infinite wisdom. In terms of reviewing, I would really encourage our viewers or any person who will come across this book to really familiarize him or herself with Australian economics. Because this person is where he's coming from, he studied that, and he's a Baha'i. So if you study the history of Baha'i temple, we have Baha'i temple here, we are lucky in Kampala. Some of the principles talked about in this book come from there. It wasn't too much challenging for me because I had some small glimpses using Charles Eisenstein. I have read that guy so much, and he also talks about sacredness of economy. Actually, I read a book called Sacred Economy, and it inspired actually the branch of entrepreneurship that we do at Mikla is called Sacred Entrepreneurship. So for us to achieve that sacredness, we rely mostly on sustainability, but the idea is to bring that kind of ethics into economy. So the interaction, because for him he defines economy as the interaction, the social cooperation. He says it is actually possible because what we are trading, the services, the acts, they are actually goods, not bads. And he says that goods is possible, or the good side of our economy is possible because virtually there is something inherent within humanity that he pulls us to doing good to ourselves and to the rest. And then another point he makes is that economics and ethics cannot be separated. Now the challenge will come, of course, if we are trying to define morality, ethics. What do we define? How do we define ethics? Who informs our morality? If we say, yeah, morality shouldn't be separated from economics, who will inform our morality? Of course, for him, he has the answer. He's a man of God. So me as a Christian, it's easy to pick his views because for him, I quote directly how he answers that. For him, he says, chapter 3, for him, he says on page 30, a model that depicts the ethics of the divine economy has to acknowledge the existence of God. So, if you are a guy who doesn't believe God out there, I think you are doomed. So, but I would love to also appreciate that there are many other versions. Though I'm a Christian, I've explored the question of who informs morality. So for those who really don't believe in God, natural, and I think I'm excited that these guys introduced me to the Students for Liberty, who believe more in, actually we have been talking about law, but law, mostly what they are forwarding is natural law. The law that is developed spontaneously, informed by human virtues, where we see wrong and we spontaneously come in to say how we can do social order, not commands. All this one we develop legally to protect our self-interest. So I would suggest that even if you don't believe in God, the natural law which he also hints on gives us that framework and within which we can exercise entrepreneurship in terms of ethics. And another point he hits on is that economy or business or entrepreneurship is a field in which our virtues are tested. In other words, our everyday actions of entrepreneurship, like our friends say, are testing fields for our virtues, for that moral aspect. Divine revelation gives information and resource and everything that's required for divine economy to act, and the product is called divine civilization. So divine civilization is achieved when economy is divine, and when the information and the knowledge that informs economy is also divine. I'm excited. There's so much to explore really if you can take that summary of chapter 3. The question is divine information. So how do you get that knowledge? So there are so many things to explore, and he refers to many of his books. The good thing has written so many of his books in the past. I'm sure if we had the chance to review all of them, we would get a clear picture. So in summary, really, I would like to say that this guy is awesome. Though for theories, there is always a limit. There are always questions, billions of questions we could ask. But it's nice that he's bringing a version that's different from the usual script of economics. It's interesting, and our future life would be to explore more of this aspect, even from the other scholars, other schools of economics, and it would be